Hello friends, myself Dr. Nidhi Darbari on My Education Treasure, and today I am going to explain about Indian philosophy. By Indian philosophy, we mean the philosophical system emerged from the Indian soil. Some scholars call it Hindu philosophy. It is not so, since a few non Hindu systems are included in it, such as Charvak, Jainism, and Buddhism, which are really critical of Hindu doctrines. Indian philosophies are concerned with all aspects of life. The beginning of philosophy in India occurred in the remote past, and there is tangible evidence that this was sometimes before or about 1000 BC. Indian philosophy has been designated as darshan, the Sanskrit word for philosophy, which means direct vision. The word symbolizes difference between modern Western philosophy, which mainly relies on an intellectual pursuit, and Indian philosophy that relies on a direct vision of truth and pure buddhi reasoning. Indian philosophies, both orthodox and heterodox, are more concerned with the perennial problems of life. So, philosophy is Tattva Darshan or vision of life. Characteristics of Indian philosophy. Let us now discuss briefly the chief characteristics that are found to be commonly present in the system of Indian philosophy. Harmony among schools. All systems accept the view of the great world rhythm, creation, maintenance, and dissolution. They follow each other. All systems of Indian philosophy have a unique quality of cooperating with one another. During a debate, the intent is not to destroy another's philosophy but to clarify one's own theories and thoughts. This has enabled various schools to live in harmony. Indian philosophers realized that every human mind is unique and it must be allowed to follow a philosophy of its choice. Open mindedness, a broad outlook that reflects its unflinching devotion to truth, distinguishes Indian philosophy. Each school is open to views of all other schools. It was nothing like there is a best way to achieve self realization. The established system of philosophical exposition in the Indian tradition involves explaining and criticizing the prior view of the subject, then refuting the view and describing a subsequent view that takes you to a higher level of final theory. Because of a continuous exchange of ideas, the philosophical system have with time become more sophisticated and complete. Simply put, an individual who enters into a discussion with an open mind, is willing to listen to another person's point of view, is likely to have a better understanding of the situation. It is one of the reasons why Indians have taken to Western culture so easily. We are able to adjust in just about any environment, be it US, Australia, Britain, and South Africa. Parallel growth and coexistence of various schools. The various systems of philosophy flourished and grew simultaneously. The reason is that open-minded approach attracted students of various hues who were impressed with the practical aspect of that system of philosophy. When a particular teacher delivered a message, it was studied and teachings were put into practice by a group of people whom it suited. Thus was formed a school of philosophy. Each system continued to coexist because it provided a theoretical and practical philosophy to meet intellectual and emotional needs of the students at different levels of realization. There is Shaivism in Kashmir and Kerala, and Vaishnavism, Shaktism, and Yoga throughout India. These schools of Vedant exist till date. All these systems continue to undergo change and grow to meet the needs of modern man without deviating from the basic teachings of their founders. Followers of a sect do not fight with each other. Instead, a student of another school is to be defeated on the strength of intellectual arguments rather than by using a gun. Spiritual orientation. Radha Krishnan characterizes Indian philosophy as essentially spiritual. Indian philosophy is said to be spiritual because it regards spirit or soul as superior to body or matter. with the solitary exception of the Charvak system, which advocates materialistic philosophy. Indian philosophy puts emphasis upon the spiritual values and enjoins that life should be led with a view to realizing these values. Buddhist philosophy too highlights the importance of spirituality for leading the disciplined moral life. All other systems believe in the superiority of spirit over matter, support of logic and reasoning. Direct experience is the foundation of Indian philosophy, but reason and logic are the chief tools that enable the system to develop and grow. The theories are presented in a way that a rational mind can easily accept. All systems of Indian philosophy apply the methods of logic to argue their point of view and protect themselves from criticism. This reason only justifies what intuition or experience has already revealed. By virtue of being an important part of our philosophy, logic got ingrained in the Indian mind. Faith in action, karma or law of karma. Another important characteristic feature of Indian philosophy is the law of karma. Every Indian school accepts this law, which states that for every effect there is a cause and for every action there is a reaction. If a man become attached to the fruits of action, then he becomes a victim of his own karma, because it is the attachment to the results that motivate him to perform future actions. The fruit has arisen out of the action and the action out of the fruit. This cycle is the wheel of karma. All schools agree that the concept of karma is the only explanation for existence of suffering. Nothing in life is accidental. What we are today is the result of our karma or deeds in this or past life. Karma is not fate or kismat. Karma means that every human being controls his future. You reap what you sow. There is no escape from the consequences of actions. Their fruits must be reaped in this life or in future life. The doctrine of karma or a doctrine of action finds a firm faith. Doctrine of birth and death is common to the Vedic, Buddhist and Jain tradition. All actions will yield the result, and the efficacy of the fruit is known as karma, which has been derived from the root kra, which means action. The karma which causes us to take birth and store up while we are born is known as sanchit karma. The sanchit karma would be totally burnt due to the grace of God through the guru or preceptor. The karma which has started yielding the fruits are known as prarabdha karma. But prarabdha karma, which has started fructifying like an arrow sent out of the bow, will affect the body and annihilate it. For it cannot harm the soul, since it is spiritually strengthened and illumined. All the system of Indian philosophy, in one way or the other, insists upon the moral training as a prelude to metaphysical understanding and religious experience. The karma which we accumulate through our volitional behavior are known as agamic karma. Even those systems which do not accept God believe in the doctrine of karma, which is the sole reason for the cycle of birth and deaths. All schools of Indian philosophy, except the Charvak, believe in the law of karma. Only the Charvak system is rigorous and gives much importance to sensuous pleasures by ignoring righteousness, dharma, and all the cherished norms. Faith in God, surrender to God, and acceptance of authority. Respect for sages and ancient scriptures is a strong tradition in India. When a teacher advocates a new philosophical system, he cites established scriptures or the writings of authorized sages to support his statement. The Astic or Orthodox schools always refer to the Vedas to support their theories. The Gnostic or unorthodox school follow the authority of their founder. Buddha, for example, reiterated many things said in the Veda but did not cite the Veda as the source of his views. Hence, the tendency to rely on the work of a realized teacher is maintained in Buddhism too. On par with Western philosophy, Indian philosophy also dealt deeply with political ideologies, social doctrines, linguistic analysis, aesthetic explanation, cultural heritage, and encompasses all the basic features of life. It builds up a fundamental structure with scriptural edifice and rational construction with spiritual superstructure. Synthesis in religion and philosophy. Religion, an important branch of philosophy, plays a vital role in Indian thought. The Indian philosophical schools have developed a more synthetic outlook. There is no treatment of metaphysics, theory of reality, epistemology, theory of knowledge, or ethics and aesthetic as distinct branches of philosophy. These questions are approached generally and relatively, some schools stressing more the metaphysical point and some the logical approach to knowledge. Vedic religion is the starting point of philosophy in India. Ignorance as the root cause of suffering. Indian philosophy in general believes that ignorance is the root cause of human suffering. Ignorance about the true nature of things gives rise to attachment to the worldly objects as they can gratify the senses. Such attachment to object of sense makes men slave to their desires, passions, etc. This creates hindrance in the path of acquiring the true knowledge of ultimate reality. It is a state of bondage according to Indian philosophical system. Freedom from this state can be obtained only through right knowledge of things. Philosophy, a practical necessity. Philosophy in India developed as a practical necessity. Wisdom of the great seers of ancient India was not merely some theoretical speculation about non worldly things. It is a general misconception that philosophy deals with issues that do not have any relevance in practical life. Philosophy in general is concerned about the ultimate questions of human life. It is true that the ancient thinkers were not much concerned about the day to day problems of practical life. They love to speculate on the genuine or ultimate issues of human life and try to find a path that might help people to solve the various problems of life in a better way. The Indian philosophers very well understood that philosophy and life had a close relation. They also believed that life could be best led by following a good philosophy. This can be noticed in the different problems discussed in the system of Indian philosophy. Philosophical thought in India grew out of practical motivation. Belief in an eternal moral order. Belief in an eternal moral order is another feature that is commonly found to be present in the systems of Indian philosophy, of course, with the exception of Charvak, the only materialistic system flourishing in India. Indian philosophy believes that the whole universe is being governed and sustained by a universal moral order. This moral order is eternal and it cannot be violated by anybody. In the Rig Veda, there is a concept of Ta which stands for such an eternal and inviolable moral order. Later on, in the different system of Indian philosophy, this principle takes on various forms like Apurva in the Mimamsa, Adasta in the Nyaya Vaisheshik, and above all, the law of karma, which is accepted in one or the other form by almost all the systems of Indian philosophy, including the two heterodox systems like Jain and Buddha. Bondage and liberation as the ultimate goal of life. The term bondage and liberation are used in the sense that the former means the cycle of birth and death, and the latter means relief from the process. The common view held by all Indian thinkers except Charvak school is that ignorance of reality is the cause of our bondage and suffering, and liberation from these cannot be achieved without knowledge of reality. The highest aim of life is moksha or nirvana, which means liberation positively as the eternal bliss and negatively as destruction of all sufferings. Almost all the systems of Indian philosophy bearing the Charvak take liberation or freedom from the bondage to be the ultimate goal of human life. Liberation means complete cessation of suffering. Different systems of Indian philosophy have given different views about the nature of liberation, but all agree in point that liberation signifies an end to miseries of life. Indian philosophers recognize four ends purusharth of human life. They are dharma, arth, kam, and moksha. These are far different from mere intellectual pursuit. Of these four, liberation is regarded as the highest and ultimate goal of man's life. Different systems prescribe different paths for attainment of liberation, such as path of knowledge, jnana, devotion, bhakti, and action, karma. Philosophy is a practical necessity for understanding how life can be used. In the hierarchy of values, Indian thinkers have classified as lower values, higher values, and highest value. The axiological approach in human life becomes immense in this analysis. Charvak system considers calm, sensuous pleasure as the only human value, purusharth, while arth or wealth serves as the means to achieve such ambitious aims. But the orthodox schools treat both karma and arth as the lowest and lower values respectively. On the other hand, they consider dharma, righteousness, as the higher value and moksha as the highest value. These four values are obligatory in the life of everyone on this earth, and hence they are called Purusharth, the human values. While explaining the state of liberation, mukti, some thinkers advocate Jivan Mukti, liberation while alive, and Videha Mukti, liberation after the disintegration of soul and body. Discussion on epistemological issues. All systems of Indian philosophy make elaborate discussions on epistemological issues like sources of knowledge, praman, types of valid knowledge, prama, types of invalid knowledge, aprama, and other related problems. Starting with the Charvak system, all the nine systems of Indian philosophy deals with the problems of sources of valid knowledge in great detail. In fact, the Charvak criticism of inference and other pramans exhibits the use of higher order of rational argument for refuting opponents' views. The Nyaya system is primarily concerned with the discussion of logical and epistemological issues. In fact, all the systems of Indian philosophy put forward their epistemological standpoint in order to supplement their metaphysical doctrines. This feature shows that the Indian system put equal emphasis upon both metaphysical and epistemological issues. Initial pessimism and ultimate optimism. Indian philosophy in general is found to start with a note of pessimism. A sense of satisfaction at the existing state of affairs can be noted in almost all the systems of Indian philosophy. Indian thinkers were immensely disturbed at the sight of human pain and suffering and the presence of evil that made man's life miserable on earth. They speculate over these issues and tried to find out the cause of these, and as a result, different philosophies developed. Buddha's philosophy exemplifies this feature in the most conspicuous manner. It is to be noted that the pessimistic note is only the initial note in Indian philosophy, which generally concludes with the optimistic note. All the systems, in their own ways, have shown that we can get over the suffering of life. There are ways that lead to freedom from the miserable state of existence on earth. Indian philosophy starts with the pessimistic note but builds up a positive approach to realize one's value in life. Indian philosophy is branded as pessimistic. Life is full of suffering can be destroyed in the state of liberation. So, Indian philosophy is characterized by initial pessimism and ultimate optimism. The Indian thinkers have realized the truth that a vision without a mission is blind, a mission without a vision is drudgery, and a healthy combination of both vision and mission will make human life prosperous. The pleasure which we enjoy is mixed with pain, is engendered in painful situation. The seers assert that it is possible to eliminate pain altogether and enjoy a life of bliss, Anand. Hence, they are seriously concerned with Sat existence, which is the truth, also Chit and Anand. Direct experience, practicality. All systems of Indian philosophy claim to be derived from the Veda, but the Veda itself is a record of the sages who realized the truth within. All systems of Indian philosophy contain a practical aspect called sadhana. Thus, the theoretical aspect of philosophy can be applied to everyday life. The ancient sages believed that any philosophy that did not enable man to handle the problems of day to day life was of no use. People have read the Bhagavad Gita would agree that the holy book is not just about religion but tells us how to handle the crest and troughs of life. To solve life's problem related to nature of life, death, birth, and cosmic or individual existence, they started making rational inquiries and observations. Unable to find satisfactory answers, they discovered various methods of meditation that help one to attain higher levels of consciousness in which one may directly experience the truth. If you found the video to be informative and interesting, I request you all to please give a like to the video to motivate me, share it for others and subscribe it so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get a notification. Self-realization, the direct experience of one's inner nature, is the goal of all systems of Indian philosophy. Every system prescribes its own way of overcoming pain to achieve the ultimate goal. Thus, every human being has to look within, understand his own nature, and figure out his path to self realization. It is not like this is the only way. It's all about direct experience as deferred above. The way to reach this goal include selfless love, service to others, purification, and self control. Because of their usefulness and practicality, each system of Indian philosophy is as relevant today as it was when written thousands of years ago. It is this quality of our philosophy that has enabled India to survive through dark periods. Moral and ethical teachings. Ancient seers realized that there must be some discipline in our lives with relation to family, society, and nation, for without law and order, the world becomes disorganized, resulting in misery. Eastern philosophers believed that for peace within, there has to be peace outside. Lack of morality and discipline creates misunderstanding in one's relationship with others and is the cause of emotional problems. Emotion need to be disciplined and channeled correctly. Discipline related to the body and mind are generally known as moral and ethical laws. The practical system of Indian philosophy are based on these laws. These are commitments, not commandments, accepted to create external peace without which there can be no internal tranquility. Faith in rebirth or transmigration. The idea of transmigration is common to all systems of Indian philosophy except the Charvak school. Realization of eternal truth, belief of eternity. Each system of Indian philosophy proclaims that there is eternal consciousness in man and realization of these consciousness is the goal of life. Imperfections are a result of ignorance and are on the surface of our personality, but what needs to be done is discovery of self within that lies in a perfect state of bliss. Man's physical existence depends on his karma action, but the center of his life is eternal. The reality of the permanent self is generally admitted. Among the orthodox schools, the Charvak and the Buddhists deny the reality of the permanent self. Thoroughness. Because of this broad outlook, there is an extreme thoroughness in Indian system of philosophy. It is like the river Ganga that originates from the glacier, runs down the hills of Garhwal onto the plains of Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, and Bengal, collecting water from different sources before it reaches the Bay of Bengal and merges itself with the all embracing sea. Similarly, Indian philosophy started with a level of human understanding, incorporated the direct experiences of sages down the centuries to become a vast and thorough body of knowledge. Misconceptions about Indian philosophies. There are two misconceptions about Indian philosophy in general. One is that Indian philosophy is pessimistic, and the other is that it is dogmatic. Indian philosophy is called pessimistic because it starts with the kind of dissatisfaction in the state in which man lives on the earth. Another misconception about the Indian philosophy is that it is dogmatic. Thus, we have seen from the above discussion that there are some general characteristics found to be present in the different system of Indian philosophy. These common features have given Indian philosophy a separate and unique identity. It is true that these characteristics are not uniformly or equally present in all the systems. One feature may be conspicuous in one system and a different one may be in another, but still, in a way, they present a common nature. Thank you very much for patiently watching the video, and don't forget to subscribe.